So, going live now. Welcome to the Lovecraft eZine podcast. Thanks for that, Pete. Yeah.
You're welcome.
That was not deliberate in any way, I know.
No, sorry.
August 22nd, 2021. And we have no guest today, which I said this last year, but next year I will attempt to do more often, like maybe 3 out of 4 episodes. Because the audience enjoys those too. So, especially if you guys are here, especially if Bridget's here. And Rick. The rest of us don't matter, but nope. I think, we don't matter. All right, I got a little poll going on. If you're watching live, I said, "What's your favorite kind of horror?" I only have room to pick 3 kinds, but hey, let's have fun. So, quiet horror, weird fiction, and ghosts. This is in the live chat. Or slashers, or Lovecraftian, or other. Comment in the chat.
I like Lovecraftian slasher body horror.
Anyway, I'm
very specific.
If you're watching us live, let me know that you can hear me, just because I'm still paranoid about it. But hey, welcome. Bridget, for those of you listening in your car later, Bridget has cat ear headphones. I love them. They're great. So Pete's here, Rick is here, Bridget is here. You guys want to introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there. Pete, you want to start?
I'm Pete Rollick. I write Lovecraftian fiction, and I'm Mike's slave when it comes to reading and reviewing books.
Actually, I got another one coming up. That may be good.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of it though. I'm waiting on it. I'm waiting on a return email.
Okay.
So, Bridget.
Hello, I am Bridget. I write music and do music stuff and also illustrate.
Your Kickstarter was very successful.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get that book out into the world.
Haunting Melody is the name of it. And you'll have them for sale later too, right? For those who
for those that missed
Kickstarter. Okay.
For those that missed the Kickstarter, I'm hoping to get everything back from the printer early 2022, and of course Kickstarter folks will get it first, and then it'll be available for other people to enjoy before next Halloween season, or all year, like us horror fans do.
Well, keep watching this space, right? You'll know when it all happens. Listen, I found out recently.
We gotta introduce Rick.
Yeah, don't forget Rick.
Oh God, I'm sorry, Rick. Please.
Rick, writer and Pulp magazine collector.
I've not done that to anybody in a long time. So in my defense, I've got a lot on my mind. I am sorry, Rick.
No problem.
I was reminded recently about how important ratings are on iTunes/Apple. So if you're a fan of the show, you like the show, even if you don't listen on iTunes, would really appreciate it if you'd head over there and leave a review. If the show is great, just mention my name. If the show's not great, mention Pete's name. Actually, mention Kelly Young's name. That works even better. So I don't know why you stay. I give you so much shit. Of course, you give me a lot of shit too, Pete.
As long as you keep paying me, I'm perfectly happy.
We'll talk later. I have to have a conversation with you about that.
Okay.
We do have a Patreon. It's the first link in the show notes. And there's a hell of a lot of extra content that you can get there, and that's all I'll say about that. But just please check it out. That's how I'm actually able to keep this going. See, we did introductions. And last but not least, my cool son set this up. And we've been doing this for a few weeks. If you are watching live, you can give me a little tip if you want. If Rick says something brilliant, maybe tip me a little bit. So you'll be tipping me a lot in that case. But you know, it helps out, and if you can't do it, that's fine too. But it is appreciated. One or two of you every week seem to do that at least, and yes, an extra $5 is nice, but it also makes me feel really good. So thank you. All right, like I said, we don't have a guest, so let's talk about horror shit. You know, let's do that.
Like we do.
It's that thing that we do. All right. You guys have got me convinced. I've watched the first episode of Evil. I know there's a new season out, right?
Yeah, but not on Netflix, on whatever channel it's on.
Hulu.
Hulu. So
Hulu works. So all three of you are saying this is a great series and I should watch it.
I enjoyed the first season. I mean, I think it telegraphed its ending, and it was kind of predictable, but I think it was well written and well acted.
Mm-hmm. I think the characters are really what make that show.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a great episode in the second season called The Elevator.
Okay.
I haven't watched second season yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
And it stars Mike.
Coulter.
You're right. Who played Luke Cage?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so
And the villain is the bad guy from Lost.
Yeah,
He's so creepy. Cringy.
He was so nice in Person of Interest, though. So it just shows what a good actor he is. I don't know if you guys watched that show, but that's a good show. It's not horror, but it definitely it fools you by you think you're watching a police kind of procedural, detective procedural, and then it just slowly immerses you in this sci-fi plot. It's really cool. So, Person of Interest. Yeah, I forgot to say that I did a little work and on the website. If you look at all the tabs at lovecraftezine.com, if you look at all the tabs, I call them tabs. They're just hyperlinks at the very top. There's one called Events now, and it kind of spells out what we do every week. For example, Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern, we do this. The next event is most Tuesdays at 9 Eastern, we do horror old time radio. So, for example, that's already set up. If you go to the Lovecraft eZine YouTube channel, and you scroll down to the horror old time radio horror playlist, you'll see that it's coming up at 9 p.m. on Tuesday, and it converts to your local time. So it's pretty easy to figure out when you can watch it. Plus, you can always click the remind me thing. And then the next events are, as you guys know, Thursdays for Patreons. It's kind of Patreon night. Every other Thursday, I do a Patreon podcast with somebody, whether it's Pete and Rick talking about like Dark Shadows or whatever, or Mark, just blanked on his last name, Rick. Mark Rainey talking about, Dark Shadows or all kinds of things, or Laird's creepy episode, or just whatever. They're at the $5 and up patrons. That's for you. And then the alternating Thursdays, $10 and up patrons, we do a Zoom call where you guys can just hang out with us. It's not recorded or broadcast, and it's a lot of fun. Alan Hughes says it's like a mini Necronomicon, so that was nice to hear. And last but not least, we can talk about Matt since he's not here. But it's very nice of Matt that he hosts movie night Saturdays at 9:30 Eastern time PM. And the instructions are all there. So I don't know what he watched last time. Oh, Bubba Hotep. what you guys watched Bubba Hotep. So good
That's a good
choice.
flick. It's always a fun movie to watch.
It is. You know, you guys know my mom fell and shattered her ankle.
Yeah.
She's out of the hospital now and into a rehab place that's like exactly a mile away from me now. So that's great. But Danielle and I toured it. Huh?
Don't tell me you watched Bubba Hotep with her.
No, I didn't watch it with her, but she likes horror. So
Okay.
I lent her the DVD like a week before she fell. And so she's like, so how is it? And I was like, it's really great. It's got 5 stars and everything. And you know how picky Danielle is and everything. You know, she's going to call people on the carpet if it's not great. And which is one of the many things I love about her, because I can be a little shy about that stuff. She goes, okay, anything else? And I'm like, yeah, you remember watching Bubba Hotep, right? She thought that was pretty funny. So she liked the movie. So anyway, that's the events tab. Alien 3. Who's listened to this? Bridget, you listened to this, didn't you?
No, I listened to one of the other ones that came out. I haven't listened to Alien 3 yet, but I'm excited to listen to it.
The William Gibson script?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on Audible.
Nice.
And I think it's free if you have an Audible membership. You don't actually have to spend a credit on it. And it's not an audio book, it's an audio drama.
Yeah.
And it's got Lance Henriksen and Michael Biehn in it.
Okay.
I've listened to a little bit of it and I really like it so far. Starts off with Lance Henriksen, his android kind of bringing people up to speed as to the events of Aliens.
So they don't make the mistake of killing everybody off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't even remember the movie Aliens 3.
It's the one set at the penal colony full of religious prisoners.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of religious symbology in that movie. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And Dark Horse did 2 or 3 comic book one-shots on aliens and religion. So
Really?
Yeah. Mostly involving, resurrection and worshiping the alien itself. There's a Lovecraftian one as well. So I've got buried someplace.
There's an animated movie. I think it might be 2 movies. If I can find it here. I need to put it on my movies page. I'll think of it in a little bit. I did this last time with that displaced person book. Kolchak, did you guys see Kolchak? The series is coming to Blu-ray.
Yeah.
With all kinds of extras.
Right.
It's coming in October.
However, the 2 movies are not included in that package.
What?
Nope.
Oh, come on, man. It's $80.
Yeah.
They're owned by different people.
Yeah. The license.
$80.
Yep, but you don't get the 2 movies.
Well, I do already have the 2 movies on DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dan Curtis Productions has a hand in the movies. They weren't involved in the TV series.
I actually do have all the episodes on. I bought them a while back on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
But I can only imagine that this is remastered with a lot of extras, maybe some commentary. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like every episode has a commentary by somebody.
Oh.
So
well, 80 is way out of my price range, but I did put it on my public Amazon wish list. So
hint, hint. Nudge, nudge. Say no more. Say no more.
A wink's as good as a nudge to a blind bat.
I also put yesterday. I put okay, so that's the high end. Yesterday, I put a $7 action figure, not doll, Wesley from Angel action figure on my Amazon wish list. You know, so don't shake your head at me. You ordered dorky stuff too.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what the attraction of Wesley is.
He's the best character on the show. That's the attraction.
Oh.
On Angel, anyway.
He had the most character development.
He
Yeah,
did.
he definitely did.
Yeah, he did have a lot of character development.
Yeah, he turned into a real badass.
Yes.
I apologize. I'm stuffed up. My voice probably sounds kind of funny. Or it could be that that's the way it sounds all the
Always
time.
sounds.
Yeah, could be. You guys want to talk about What If? We started talking about it before we went live.
I haven't seen it yet, but I don't care if you guys spoil it.
We're not going to spoil it, but
What If is the first episode was interesting. I really enjoyed it. The second episode was kind of played for laughs. I don't think it was as good as the first episode, but I'm in the minority on that, and I'll accept that my opinion can sometimes be wrong.
Generally, the fandom, including me, loved the second episode because of the comedy.
Yes.
And also they had a lot of actors come back from the movie.
That is true.
I think they just couldn't get the actor who plays Peter Quill. Dave Bautista did not come back as Dax. And whoever does Corvus Glade in Infinity War was it. But everybody else was from the original
Kurt, what's his name?
Russell came back.
Russell was in there too.
Yeah, you had Kurt Russell. You had Josh Brolin.
Yep.
It's interesting that stealing the wrong kid prevents, I know this is a mild spoiler, but prevents the whole Thanos wanting to destroy half the universe. I love it when he's sitting around with people going, and now this would be my plan. He's just one of the guys, and they're like, I don't know, man. Sounds an awful lot like genocide. So he's like, no, you're not listening.
It's economical. It's expedient.
Yeah. And you know what? He didn't say, but I thought it's not really genocide if you're only killing half of them.
No, he said that.
Oh, he did say that?
He
Okay.
said that.
I missed it. Did you say you liked the first episode better, Pete?
I did. I liked the first episode better.
I did too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved them both.
I did like the first episode.
There's something about turning that whole and they never come out and they never say, they call her Captain Carter, but she's really just Captain Britain.
Yeah.
But they never say that. And yeah, it was kind of fun to watch that and to see her really take a nice position in the Marvel universe and make the same kind of sacrifices that Steve Rogers made. I'm very interested in finding out what happens to Steve and Bucky in that whole universe.
And the Greatest Generation and all that, but they had their faults too, which is really pointed out in that first episode.
It is.
Of course a woman can't fight, a woman can't do this, a woman can't do that. I mean,
did you realize where the connection to the Marvel one-shot on Agent Carter?
No.
The guy who they kill off Tommy Lee Jones, probably because he couldn't get him for the episode. And he's replaced by a guy named Flynn. And Flynn was her superior on the Agent Carter one-shot.
Yeah.
played by the same actor.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry you haven't had. I mean, you just moved, Bridget, so you've been really busy. But
Yeah.
I'll be really interested to see what you think of it, especially episode 1. You know,
Yeah, I'm
just the whole male
curious.
condescension thing.
Yeah.
In the 40s.
I still think it would have been nice. Well, all right. So one of the things I loved about Captain America is not Captain America himself, but the Invaders. The Invaders was one of my favorite comics growing up. And, you know, the Invaders are not part of MCU canon at this point. But it would have been fun to see, you know, some of those characters in What If.
Now, for those who don't know, the Invaders were Captain America, Submariner, the original Human Torch, and some new characters, Spitfire, Union Jack.
Don't forget Toro or Kid Human Torch.
Yeah, and there was also, I think, the Destroyer, who was from the,
Yep.
the first superhero Stan Lee created in
Yes.
the 40s.
Yep.
But what I'm hoping for is we get the Invaders, but without Captain America.
Yes, and there is a version of the Invaders without Captain America. So,
Because we had, in the first Captain America film, you have the Human Torch as a synthetic man at the World's Fair, or
right.
whatever. It wasn't the World's Fair, it was Stark Expo, whatever.
Yep.
It's equivalent of World's Fair. And then one of the guys he rescued from prison was Union Jack.
Right. Right.
So depending how they do Submariner in the upcoming Black Panther, he's possibly available. Or you could bring in Spitfire was Union Jack's sister, was a blood transfusion from the Human Torch, the original Human Torch.
Right.
So you could bring her in.
Oh my God, it's Ben Handelman. He's alive.
Only barely. I've had about 2 1-hour-long naps since 3 a.m. yesterday, but I'm here.
Is that traffic I hear outside your window?
No, we're actually in Phoenix now. That's probably my son, just like banging things around because he's a delinquent teenager. So no, we moved a month ago, and so now I have like a nicer chair, and there's not a bed behind me. Well, there's a bed behind this wall, but there's not a bed in the frame.
Yeah, I moved to
Welcome.
California, and then you moved to Arizona. I see how it is.
Look, my gas here is $1.60 cheaper per gallon.
Oh my gosh, I bet. Because you were in LA proper area, right?
Yes, and so gas was it was like $4.60 when I left, and it's about $3 here. And yeah, nope.
No.
And now,
Yeah.
but I'm glad to see everyone. Like Mike
Glad to
hasn't
see
gotten
you.
any younger, unfortunately. But
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate
But,
that.
hey, you're still with us. You've got the fancy backgrounds going on, you know?
Yeah, I do. Logan's temporarily loaned me his green screen, so I can almost pretend like I'm a professional, you know?
Almost a professional.
Almost, yeah.
Almost. Yeah, so for a topic today, and I don't know what topics you guys are on now, because I just showed up to disrupt everything and cause trouble for your podcast. But you may want to bring Logan on, because there's some good Lovecraftian video game news going on. Just throwing that out there.
He can be a little picky with the games. I'll have to ask him. Send me a list. I do want to get him on to talk about gaming sometime soon.
I will, because this past week was the 25th anniversary of Quake coming out, which
I heard it was going to be remastered. Yeah,
it was, and calling it Lovecraftian is a bit generous, right? It's just because they basically just let Sandy Peterson do whatever he wanted, and so he put some Lovecraftian looking things in it. But
Right.
it's getting a lot of press, and I think that's my first exposure to anything Lovecraftian, at least. Certainly wasn't what got me into H.P. Lovecraft, but that was the first time I ever experienced anything remotely like that. Which, it being 25 years ago, that makes me really old, and that makes Mike ancient. So
Yeah, I think I hear. Yeah, it was definitely you. I hear people in your background. I'm not ancient. I'm just really, really old. Okay, so what have you guys been reading and watching lately? Pete. Well, we'll get to Pete in a minute. But yeah, Rick, what have you been watching or reading? You're muted right now.
I've been listening to an audio drama,
Yeah.
The Horror in the Museum, which the HPL Historical Society just put out.
Yeah. By the way, they're running a sale today and tomorrow. It's like what is it? store.hplhs.org. And if you use the code birthday21, you'll get 21% off anything or any orders $25 and more. So it includes those, I believe. So how's the audio drama?
Very good. They were very faithful to the source material. They tend to add female characters, which is fine. So they just added one female character, which for exposition. So the character was the narrator and somebody to run ideas off of. And the inclusion of her just created a nice epilogue to the story without radically changing anything.
Okay. I think I have that. I just haven't listened to it yet. So.
Well, they just allowed the downloads for it this week.
Yeah. Thanks, Ben. Ben posted it in the chat. Anything else? Reading, watching? Rick?
Well, I read Screams by Christopher Lane.
All right.
Which
Yeah.
we discussed last week.
Yeah.
I haven't read anything new horror-wise since then.
What did you think of Screams?
I liked it a lot.
I think he did a really good job.
Yeah. And you could even argue that it should be a Tyndall's mythos rather than a Cthulhu mythos story.
Yeah, so and that is a sticking point. There's nothing in the Hounds of Tyndalos that actually ties it to the Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah, it's only tied possibly to Arthur Macken's White People.
Right. It's the second story, the Space Eaters, which features the same characters, that has a link to the mythos.
Necronomicon.
And, a quote from the Necronomicon. But then Derelith just loved the Tyndalos Hounds of Tyndalos so much he shoved it into the collection without really thinking about it. So,
well, it was mentioned by Lovecraft in Whisper in the Darkness.
Yeah, that's true.
But the Hounds of Tyndalos and Tyndalos were never really integrated by the original Lovecraft circle in any way into the mythos.
Yeah, there's relatively few stories about them. I think Mark Rainey did one. The guy who wrote Let the Right One In,
mm-hmm.
He wrote one.
Willem did one. Short story.
Yeah.
Well, Brian Lumley went bonkers with him for a while.
Yeah, for a while. But yes.
In fact, Willem did one, I think, for me. I think it's on the Lovecraft eZine website, which you can read for free. Just go there and click on free fiction.
Also, C.J. Henderson did one, and there's a very good novel by Adam Neswander
Yes.
and Hound Hunters.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna have to go through this is part of his 7 Coins Drowning. Do I have that right? Series.
Yes. Yep.
I'm gonna have to read all of them. I mean,
Yeah, they're loosely connected by like some overarching characters, but yeah, I think he's a decent writer. I'm surprised that he hasn't hit bigger.
well, sometimes
I know.
that's the way it is.
Yep.
And he does a nice job of he's using various narratives like Bram Stoker, and he's also using various fonts, which they nicely duplicated on Kindle for all these documents.
All right. Well, yeah. For those who don't know what we're talking about, we talked with Christopher Lane last Sunday, and I'll have that audio up this week. But it's on YouTube, of course. And the book is called Screens. So Rick, you liked it too. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So, all right, Bridget, I know you moved to California, so you've probably been really busy, but have you read or watched anything lately that you want to talk about?
Sure. Oh, and apparently my cat has an opinion, so Boulder is here on the chair.
No problem.
So I did manage to watch a little bit of the American Horror Stories before we left. I would say it's on par with the new seasons of Creepshow. Some episodes are hit or miss, but in general, if you don't take it too seriously, it's fairly enjoyable. I listened to Ron Malfi's Come With Me on Audible on the way here on the drive, and that was so wonderful.
Yeah, he's a good writer.
I really loved it. And the Audible, oh my gosh, Boulder, stop attacking my chair. I'm really picky about Audible narrators, and I think that the narrator in this case did such a great job because the way that he wrote the story is pretty much the guy talking to his deceased wife the whole story. So having that narrator be sincere and compelling was really important, because you could easily get kicked out of the story when it's so much in first person narrative like that. So I really enjoyed it, and I thought the prose, everything was just, it was so beautiful and sad and creepy where it needed to be creepy. The supernatural elements were there when they needed to be there, but they weren't. You weren't even sure they were there necessarily. Yeah, it was just so good. I really loved it.
What's the premise, without spoilers, for those who aren't familiar with this book? We recently interviewed him.
Yes.
And he came up with a great premise, how he came to my attention with Mr. Cables. And, it's about this writer who is signing books and at a bookstore or something, and lady comes up to him and asks him to sign a book that he's written, but it's got his name, his bio, everything, but he didn't write it. He doesn't recognize it. So, I mean, that's a premise that kind of grabs you. So what's the premise for Come With Me?
Yeah. So without spoilers, he is describing, basically telling a story to his wife of everything that happened to her after her unfortunate death, which happens very, very early in the book. So that doesn't really spoil anything. But it's a mass shooter kind of situation where his wife is killed, and he is basically learning that there was very much more to his wife than he ever knew. And she was a reporter, and so he finds out that kind of beyond her job, but suiting her reporter character, that she was digging into some stuff that he never knew she was even interested in, or almost obsessed about, I guess you could say, without spoilers. But in that, finds out so much more about her past and why she was pursuing this line of investigation, I guess I'll say. But it's so much more than finding out secrets of somebody that's close to you into again, like, the perspective is really what blew me away in the story, is that he is telling her, as he's investigating these things, he's actively talking to her. The whole book is him talking to her. So
That's a really interesting way to do it.
Yes, that's what made it so interesting, because it's so different than, okay, this happened, okay, that happened, oh well, now we find out this about her. It's him finding out about her and telling her his feelings on it throughout the whole book, as a just monologue to her.
Did you pick that up on Audible because we recently chatted with him, or is that just a coincidence?
I had picked it up because of that, and I just, whenever we're gonna have authors on, I look at their stories, and then he had mentioned on the show about his interest in exploring that of when you think you know someone and you're learning things about them and that you hadn't expected, and so that the plot of that book really grabbed me, so that's why I had downloaded it on Audible. But I think it would be good, of course, as on paper to read it, but I think the Audible in itself was such a unique experience, because it's like this guy is talking to you as if you were his deceased wife the whole book, and that was so unique and compelling. And the way he weaves the title in is so brilliant, that come with me, and all the things that just that phrase can mean. Because
there's some without having read it yet, I read some other of his books, and I've read Mr. Cables. I've started it, and I know that's a source of guilt for him. That phrase.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, so very early in the book, it's like, as his wife is leaving and he sees her for the last time, she says, "Why don't you come with me? Come with me." And he says no. And so, it explores that aspect of it throughout the book, of his guilt of not having gone with her. But there's so much more that comes with that phrase. It's a really good read. But
Ron sent me an arc of it, but there are some books that just have an added dimension, when they're an audio edition, when they're on audio. So I get my next credit soon, and I'll pick that up.
Go for it.
He's a nice guy and a really good writer, and he's got a lot out there. So folks, if you haven't read his stuff, maybe start with Come With Me or Mr. Cables. So anyway. All right, who wants to go next? Pete.
All right, so I've been watching 11 seasons of this British cop show called DL and Pasco, but I've also been interspacing it with movies.
Jesus, and, man, do you have a clone? I mean, come on.
I really enjoyed Jacob's Wife, which stars Barbara Crampton.
Really? I was going to ask you guys about that, because I couldn't decide if it looked like it was for me or not.
It's a little bloody.
Well, I don't mind a little bloody. I just
don't
like body horror.
Yeah, I don't think there's body horror, but it's definitely a vampire movie.
Right.
And
that was one of my thoughts, was I've seen a million vampire movies. Do I want to see another one?
It's it's interesting because the Barbara Crampton plays a pastor's wife.
Yeah.
Who even before she's infected, so to speak, is having conflicts with him. Those are just elevated when she stops being the meek and mild wife. I think it was really well written, really well acted. I think the production values were high, except for the master.
And hey, it's Barbara Crampton, right?
Right, it's Barbara Crampton, so it was pretty well done.
Okay.
The master is a definite nod to Barlow from Stephen King's Salem's Lot. Ben, have you seen this film?
So I've seen the trailer, and I would say when you say a nod to Salem's Lot, I'd say in particular a nod to the 70s
Right.
adaptation look. Or it was the 70s? The
Yeah,
original
70
miniseries.
79.
Yeah, not the new miniseries that they did that no one should watch.
With Barlow. Yeah, no, it was
yeah.
it was a TV movie, I believe, wasn't it?
Was it a TV movie? I know they did
79. Yeah.
Yeah, they did two of them, but
two parts.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's definitely a nod to that over, at least based on the looks, over the, because the book he was much more of a Dracula style.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't like. I thought the makeup could have been better. So, but
you can forgive a lot if a story is good and it really draws you in.
Right.
Does it do that?
Right. It does. It does. And there's this. I think the story really draws you in, and I'm willing to forgive a poor special effect because the story is better. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah. So
I was just going to ask if there's any other movies that you've seen lately.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, I've got something to read here, but yeah, go ahead and get it started.
So, against my better judgment, and because of circumstances beyond my control, I needed to be a moron for a couple hours. So,
and you were nagged.
And I was nagged
by me, by Mike DeBronzo. I mean, hell, Bridget, I think even got one in there. I don't remember.
And I watched Llamageddon,
which is Brightburn with a llama. And as Mike says, Mike DeBronzo, this movie, I'm sorry, I'm choking up. This movie is for anyone with a llama and a dream. So, yeah.
So to be clear, this movie is for anybody who has a dream, has maybe a Galaxy 10 phone with a motion camera on it, and 2 llamas.
Of course. Okay. That don't look like each other.
That don't look like each other.
All right, before you continue,
yeah,
Pete was kind enough. Some of us have a Facebook messenger thread that's just ongoing. So this is where we were peer pressuring Pete to watch this because, I mean, first of all, longtime viewers, yes, I don't have any regrets either, DeBronzo. Longtime listeners and viewers of this show will know that Pete watches a lot of bad movies so that the rest of us don't have to.
Yeah,
it's a service. Hey, I don't make fun of him for it. I admire him for it. I appreciate it. So when Pete says, no, that looks too horrible, I'm going to watch it, we're like, what the hell are you talking about?
Look, so there are some films I like. If I turn on a film and the first thing it says is Asylum Pictures presents, I'm like, I'm done. I don't watch that movie because it's just, there's no redeeming quality to those films whatsoever. And I say this, but I did find a Sasquatch film they did that was actually really, really good. So
So there are exceptions.
There are exceptions.
And you had this in mind, I'm sure, when
Oh.
you finally gave in. So Pete was kind enough to sort of live message while he was watching Llamageddon. This was today's 22nd. This was 4 days ago. Let me just read this to you. Yeah, because I'm actually going to watch it this week and I'm going to live tweet it. Okay, because I figure DeBronzo and I were talking. He's like, "Oh, Pete's going to hate us forever." I was like, Pete's really going to be angry when he realizes that I haven't watched it yet, and I was nagging him to do it. So I mean, I feel a moral obligation that I would never watch this movie, but I'm going to, because I nagged you into. I was one of those that nagged you into watching it. So anyway, this is 4 days ago. Pete works from home right now, right?
Yeah,
And
but I watched this later in the day.
okay, so you weren't working. Were you doing? Please tell me you were multitasking. That you were doing something else. Okay, yeah, I figured. You're the king of multitasking. So anyway, here's the start of the movie, and this is Pete talking everything I'm about to read. Well, not everything. Pete, I hate you people. 5 minutes into Llamageddon, and I want to rip out my own eyes. Now, if that isn't please go watch this movie statement, I've never heard one, And Scott, no, we won't do spoilers. Kim Smeltzer says Pete is our darling little sacrificial movie lamb.
Okay, so to be clear, this movie starts with a cartoon of an alien llama planet.
Hey, not too much, okay? Not too much. We want the viewers to be surprised.
They're alien llamas being herded into. First of all, it's obviously a military thing, and they're being herded into horse trailer starships. And there's even a scene where a nest of llama eggs gives birth to baby llamas.
All right, so he starts off with "I hate you people," because this bears repeating. 5 minutes into Llamageddon, and I want to rip out my own eyes, which we all immediately gave thumbs up to. DeBronzo says, "You did it, Pete. You have to finish it, Pete." Here's Pete again. The dog wandering randomly on the porch, teleporting between takes.
Yeah, so there's this. They're doing this long shot of them discussing.
We don't have to have the context unless.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, all right, whatever.
They're talking. There's these two kids talking with their mother.
You missed this, didn't you, Ben? You did.
With their dead grandparents' house in the background, and there's this dog wandering back and forth on the porch. But every time they switch the perspective of the camera, the dog teleports, because the dog is not being, he's not important to the scene. He's not being wrangled in any way. So he's just,
just happened to be there.
Yeah, he just happened to be there. Now, the important thing is that this house belongs to their grandparents. The dog is one who are now dead, killed by the llama. There's a doghouse on the side of the house. Later on, you see dog dishes in the kitchen. So the dog obviously belongs to the grandparents, but there's never a single line of dialogue about the dog.
Okay, I'm going to have to agree. Scott says, "Mike, I was kidding. Spoil the hell out of it." No, we don't usually do this, but this is such a horrible movie.
Let's all right.
Horrible
so I talk about the dog. The dog
becomes
important later. Spoil the hell out of this fucker. Go ahead.
No, I think it's worth mentioning that you won't have to invest too much of your lifespan into this. Only 69 minutes.
Yes.
And they did that on purpose. They also submitted it to Sundance just so they could get rejected from Sundance.
Yeah, well, there's a reason for that. So the dog later reappears.
There's many reasons, yes.
There's this big battle scene where they have to flee the farmhouse and run through the woods. And the llama is shooting at all the kids who are fleeing through the dark woods with its laser beams. And it's kind of like old Star Trek where the kids running through the woods are reacting and then they're filling in the laser beams and the explosions afterwards. Except the dog is there. And the dog is just like plodding along and just, wagging its tail as everybody just walks through the woods with all these explosions and laser beams going off around them. And, I've come to believe that the dog is just like owned by somebody who's in the film. And he's just wandering through the film and nobody bothers to worry about it.
Hey, Matt Carpenter's here.
Hey.
Hey. So we're talking about Llamageddon. And then the next message from Pete is 18 minutes in and it's a fucking disaster. DeBronzo says, only 51 minutes to go, Pete, rooting for you. Pete says, we've never seen technology like this! Exclamation point.
Yeah, so this is a quote, the alien UFO experts who are like their X-File guys have found the horse trailer / spaceship that carried the llama to Earth. And they're like, we've never seen technology like this.
You know what Arthur C. Clarke said? That any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So I think that's what's going on here, Pete.
Okay, so here's the problem.
No, nothing.
Now, the horse trailer is a commercially produced horse trailer, and it's got the guy who made it brand and logo like in 3 places on the trailer. And let's be clear, this is a commercial horse trailer where they welded on some metal to make wings. They've taken a computer, an old probably Mac computer that a stand-up, the desktop, wrapped it in tinfoil and put a baseball bat on top of it and wrapped that in tinfoil too. This is the trailer, and this is the spaceship, and I'm like, they didn't even bother to take the spare tires off of it. It's just like, and they're like Yokohamas or whatever, and it's just like, you've never seen technology like this before. The guy's address is on the side of the trailer.
Alan Hughes says in the live chat, get out, Matt, while you can. So, Pete, to go on, Pete says, while watching the movie, we've never seen technology like this! Exclamation point. It's a commercial horse trailer! Exclamation point. They didn't even take the manufacturer's name off.
Yeah.
All right, next comment. Christ, the sex scene with the dad. Shit like that is going to turn a whole generation asexual.
Yeah. There's a completely superfluous sex scene. So the 2 kids are like,
you're describing most sex scenes in movies and shower scenes.
So the 2 kids turn to each other.
I mean, you can't kill the one of the not final girls in the movie unless she's taking a shower, right? That's the slasher rule.
The 2 girls, we established earlier that the wife is divorced from their father, and the 2 kids at some place said, I wonder what, words to the fact, I wonder what dad's doing right now. And it just turns to him, and there's a brief, maybe 1-2 second shot of a young woman straddling him, and then it goes to his face, and he's like, oh. Like, what?
Now, I don't want to speak for DeBronzo, but my feeling was, because I sure wasn't having a very good day, this would have been Wednesday, the 18th. I wasn't having the best day, and I don't think DeBronzo was having the best day. Either that or he was having a stressful work day, something. So the next thing is DeBronzo says, Pete, your sacrifice is making my day, which it hit me right here, man.
In the feels?
It did. It hit me in the feels because I felt exactly the same way. I'm like, Christ, this is the highlight of my entire day. Next comment from Pete. Why does this guy keep changing clothes between scenes?
All right, so I've done some research.
I was going to say that could speak for itself, but go on.
There's was one character who, they decided to throw a party. They invite all their friends over to drink beer and smoke weed, as you do in your dead
As you
parents'
do, yeah, of course.
in your dead grandparents' house after their funeral, with a dog that nobody talks about. And through the course of the film, one of these guys changes his outfit, and this is only a one-night film, 26 times.
Wow, you researched this?
Somebody else did it for me.
Thank God.
Somebody else did it.
I mean, I've seen you do some weird research, but
Right. And it's just when you think that it's not important, that it's just like sloppy.
yeah.
There's this the last scene he's in where he's fighting the monster llama. He's wearing a gold Star Trek Enterprise command shirt.
I'm sure they got permission for that.
No, there's no way in hell that they got permission for this.
Next comment from Mr. Rollick. The dog just wandering casually through the woods while post-production special effects
we already
explosions
talked about
go
this.
off.
Yeah,
Huh?
we already talked about this.
All right. Next comment. Wait, the UFO investigation left the spaceship trailer unguarded?
Yeah, so they're running through the woods and they come to the field where the spaceship has crashed. And it's like, remember, they said it, we've never seen technology like this. So you left it there? Unguarded? Nobody, first of all, you wouldn't leave it there. Second of all, why would you not put somebody there to guard it? But hey, okay, we'll just leave, let's move on.
Well, and here's a comment that just sort of made sense to Pete, I'm sure, but came out of nowhere for us. There was no context at all. I mean, he's already given you the context, but it was just 3 words: aluminum foil tech. And I'm reading that and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I really do have to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Next comment was the spaceship has spare tires, which immediately made me think of the Kurt Russell classic, The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes.
Yeah.
Now he's wearing a Star Trek yellow shirt. I replied to DeBronzo when he said, Pete, your sacrifice is making my day. And I said, I don't like to use the word hero too much, but in this case, it's very appropriate. DeBronzo, no doubt. Pete, did Bush Beer pay for this whole film?
Oh yeah, there's like 12 or 13 shots of full cans, full on shots of Bush Beer.
I really hope the guys that did this movie are either
Have you
watching
ever
this or
had
going
Bush
to watch
Beer?
this.
Mike,
Yeah, I've
have you
had-
ever-
Unfortunately, I have.
it's
Yes.
really bad.
Yeah, no shit. So the next comment was even more puzzling than the aluminum tech comment, and that is, how does Bigfoot get us to the moon? I think, what the hell? I'm sure this makes absolute perfect sense in context that I don't have.
No, it doesn't make any sense in context. So
Okay.
they've called their dad to come rescue them from the killer llama.
I hope everybody watching was hoping to learn a lot about horror and weird fiction today, because you are. You are.
So dad's driving down the road in his truck. He's listening to conspiracy radio. And the guy on the conspiracy radio says, landing on the moon, we've never even been to the moon. And dad says, yep, maybe with Bigfoot.
What does that mean?
I don't know. There's no context whatsoever.
You
Oh
know,
my gosh.
one might think that we're making fun of these guys, but we've been talking about this. I actually respect the hell out of these guys that they said, let's just make this. It's going to be dumb. Maybe that's the whole point. I mean, when you deliberately limit your time to 69 minutes, I mean, you're trying to just troll everybody, you know? So the next comment was
Trolligans. That's the next movie.
yeah. Wait, llamas can look up? Maybe space llamas can, Pete. Did you ever think of that?
Yeah, I don't know anything about llamas.
What were you thinking?
What was I thinking?
The next comment, Pete. Why taste the green slime? Who the fuck just tastes green slime? Again, I have no context, but I'm gonna have to agree with you on that.
Yeah,
Oh, come on. How many of you have eaten melted key lime pie?
Yeah.
You all eat green slime. Don't.
Actually, I've had a lot of
I
Jello.
don't like key lime pie.
So you're an apostate. Okay.
Yep.
No, I like other pies, but not that.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, that's just wrong.
Yep.
Yeah, in fact, Matt did answer like you've never eaten melted key lime pie. DeBronzo says the only thing better than reading Pete talking about this movie would be watching said movie with Pete. At this point, I begin to regret my lack of foresight in not asking Mandy to videotape Pete's face during this entire movie. But, that's hindsight for you. Oh, here's another puzzling comment. That's a fuckload of big fuzzy eggs. Next one. Nobody hears dad shooting.
Yeah.
No llamas were harmed in the making of this film. Bullshit. So you think they hurt some llamas?
No.
This is a serious accusation, Pete.
No, I think.
Well, Mike, you have to think about what about the self-image and self-respect of the llamas in the film. They're probably going to need a lot of llama therapy. So you can't say they weren't harmed.
I gotta tell you, there is a line in this film that I completely blotted out, but it suddenly appeared to me in a dream last night.
That in itself is gold.
along with the angel Gabriel. And he's writing on the wall, Mine, tickle you farson, Pete.
So they're smoking a lot of weed, and the one guy hands the bong to the girl. The girl says, "Hey, it's empty." And the one guy turns to the camera and straight out says, "I'll pack a new one." And then I'll pack a new one. And he just stares at the screen for like 10 seconds.
Like, get it?
Get it?
Yeah, get it, right?
No. Oh, all right. Anyway, go on, Mike.
It can't outrun a combine. Shit, my wife's 90-year-old grandmother can outrun a combine.
Yeah. I don't
know what that means. That brush fire went out quick.
All right. So the llama has laser eyes. It sets fire to the farm.
I believe it's called heat vision, but go on.
Anyway.
Get the terminology right.
For Christ's sake, Pete.
I have questions whether or not it's really heat vision because there's a lot of people exploding.
That's a lot of heat.
Yeah. But, so the llama's heat vision sets fire to the farm, and then we cut the scene, and then when we come back, that fire is pretty much almost out. And then, what I haven't commented is later when they pull back, that fire has been rebuilt. But hey,
maybe it's alien fire.
It is alien fire. It burns only aliens.
The smartest actor in this film was the guy hiding in the horse head mask.
Yeah, there's a guy in a horse head mask for the hot tub scene.
The two llamas used in this film do not even look similar to each other.
Nope.
I see the llamas are owned by the director. Who owns a llama?
Who owns two llamas?
Yeah. Where was this even filmed?
What was the movie that was set in Idaho, where they were taking care of a llama?
I have never seen a movie with a llama in it ever.
Pedro. I don't know. Napoleon Dynamite.
Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah,
Yep.
that's It's pretty. Mike, you've never seen Napoleon Dynamite?
No, I've not.
No?
Oh my goodness.
So
Am I not cool anymore?
no, not at all. This is maybe one of the greatest films of the 2000s.
Ben's like, what do you mean anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
We
can't
just took
even.
your card away.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
I
And
heard
anyone
enough
in the
from my
chat-
son, Ben.
Look, I will ban everyone from chat who doesn't watch Napoleon Dynamite, and that includes Mike, if I could. So
Fine, I'll watch it.
it's one of the greatest films of all time.
There's
Much-
just so many
much like
one-liners.
Llamageddon.
There's
Much
so
like
many
Llamageddon.
one-liners. Yeah.
Is it better than Office Space?
I would put it in that same category.
Oh, you would? Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
I
watching it.
would.
I love
honestly,
Office Space.
Maybe better than Office Space. It's hard to
Watch it.
Yeah, you gotta watch it. Honestly,
You gotta watch it, and just you'll go. Why am I watching this? Just go with it.
yeah.
Okay.
By the time
No,
you
you guys,
yeah.
no lie. You guys have me convinced. When you
And then
said
we
it
can
was-
actually use the lines in conversation. Finally.
Exactly. I blame myself.
I blame you too.
Oh my God. Ghostbusters has been out for what, 35 years? 40? The line is, so do I.
No, I blame you.
Special thanks to the Llama Association of America. Is there a Llama Association? of
Apparently there is.
America? I'm not buying it.
The LAA, man, they gave like $20 million to
To
the
finance this film.
Yeah.
Uh,
the Llama
All right, I
Association.
think- And by the way, the dog is Meemaws and Peepaws. The dog house is off the side of the porch, and I saw dog dishes in the kitchen. We couldn't have one line of dialogue about the dog. And then DeBronzo says something I'll never understand. So what's the verdict, Pete? DeBronzo, did you not get up till then that he couldn't stand the movie? Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. I had to. And who cleaned the bedroom after the grandparents were slaughtered? That shit ain't cheap.
No,
Oh,
it's
here's the verdict. Here's the verdict from Pete Rawlik, king of watching bad movies, which you need a trophy for. The verdict is, this might be the worst film I've ever seen. Worse than anything Asylum ever made. Worse than Birdemic. So, and then DeBronzo says that this was the highlight of his day, which I agreed with. So,
okay.
so there you have it, everyone. Pete recommends that you immediately go watch Llamageddon.
Listen, I'm going, if everything works, and I think everything will, I'm going to the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival in Portland.
See you there.
Under no
Is that the October one?
Yes.
Okay.
Under no circumstances are you to bring me any llama associated materials.
I could probably
Okay, now,
talk
you know what
those
you
guys
just-
into
you know what
showing
you just did was
Llamageddon.
you just chummed the water.
Oh yeah, I know
Yeah,
what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, Mike.
Yeah, okay. Speaking of the HP
A
Lovecraft
pack
Film
a bag.
Festival,
Ha, ha, ha.
the Portland one just finished this weekend, right?
The Providence
That
one
was
just
the
finished.
that was a Providence one.
Providence. Okay.
Prematurely stopped because of the hurricane.
Okay. So then they're doing another one, and I actually linked to the Facebook
October
event
1st to 3rd.
in the show notes for anyone who's interested.
Now, I find this slightly amusing because the last Portland Film Festival I was supposed to go to, I couldn't go to because I had a hurricane here.
I remember that.
And then this
I
one
had to share a room with Kelly Young.
Yeah, this one got shut down by a hurricane.
The scars
Scars.
to my psyche.
I heard a rumor that the murder hotel got shut down.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
But that's Portland, isn't it?
yeah, that's Portland.
That's
Yeah.
Portland.
Yes. So
Yeah, I'll never forget that. I'm walking over there with Lehman to meet Nick Gucker and some of the rest of you, and he's like, "Yeah, this hotel. I'm glad we're not staying there. It's kind of murdery." And I'm like, "Whoa, really?"
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're not staying there either. So, all right. So I think we've burned Llamageddon to the ground, except I stand by what I said. It sounds like Brightburn, but with a llama instead of a little kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. If you liked Brightburn, you'll love
No.
Llamageddon, right?
But
Well,
everybody hated Brightburn.
Huh?
I
don't like Brightburn.
Yeah, you don't like Brightburn. I don't hate Brightburn.
I don't hate it. I just think it's very predictable. That's all. So anyway, we talked about the Kolchak Blu-rays. Oh, before I forget to say, Richard Chismar will be at a special time and place on Blossom. Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, I'll be interviewing Richard Chismar on this very show, just at a different time, about Chasing the Boogeyman, his book that just came out, and it's a really great read, guys. So we had to reschedule because my mom falling, excuse me.
Okay.
And he was not only very kind about rescheduling, but he sent me like 3 or 4 emails over several days asking about her. So Rich is a nice guy and he's a great writer. So pick up Chasing the Boogeyman and come back here Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. I've already got it up on the upcoming streams link on Lovecraft eZine YouTube page. All right, so that's 3 p.m. Eastern Tuesday. You guys are probably all working, right? Except for Rick.
Yeah, I'm working.
Yeah. You know what that means? It's like, I want to retire so bad, but I can't yet. That's what that means.
Yeah, I can't.
Rick, are you going to be around? Or are you busy? You're muted, buddy. We talked about what if. Anyway, I don't think I can unmute you anymore.
I do kind of want to know why Bridget's wearing llama ears.
I'll try to make it, Mike.
Oh, okay. There's Rick. Yeah, I'd love it if you did. Those are not llama.
They're cat ears.
Yeah,
They look like llama ears.
No, llama ears are really long.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just pricked up llama ears.
This is her, Batman Returns costume.
There we go.
So
No. If you've seen the trailer for the Robert Pattinson Batman film, that's about the extent they go to give Catwoman a costume. That's how.
That's sad,
which is
actually.
Well, yeah. No, I was going to say which is more realistic.
I'll be honest. I generally don't go for realistic when I watch Batman films. I mean, the whole bat costume, jumping off roofs, billionaire vigilante thing.
You don't think it's realistic?
No, probably not.
What about Superman? Do you think that's unrealistic too?
No, that's different.
Okay, yeah, that's totally realistic. Yeah.
So if that's realistic, it's perfectly possible those are llama ears.
I'll just smile and nod at that. So, I tried. Did I ask everybody what they've been watching? Matt, what have you been reading and watching?
Okay, so this is our prize this week. It's actually a very good graphic novel. I got it off of Kickstarter, Western Noir, about a guy who's an old-time gunslinger, and he gets this pair of glasses that allows him to identify occult creatures and demons. And so he's going across the West hunting demons. So if you want to win this, it's really a nice, well-made graphic novel, very attractive art. Just send an email to ezineprizes@gmail.com and put Western in the subject heading. If you're listening later, we will keep the entries open for like 5 to 6 weeks. You got plenty of time to submit an entry.
Okay. Anything else you want to mention that you've been reading
Um,
or watching?
Yeah. Another thing, this is next week's prize, is this graphic novel, Witches, which is just a terrific graphic novel. In fact,
It looks like it's spelled differently than, so is
with
that
a
a
Y.
WYTCHES?
Yeah. Now, they took ideas out of this graphic novel for the movie The Wretched, about the witches living under the trees.
All right.
So they're talking about making this into its own movie or made for TV or something, but they already used part of it. So if you enjoyed the movie The Wretched, I found this to be a really
The Wretched,
very
I think
striking
that's
art.
one that I really did like. If it's
Yeah.
the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, it was about
Where
that
it ends with the girl in the
rowboat. or whatever.
rowboat. Yeah. I love that movie.
So this
You
this is
have a
like
lot of prizes to give away, Matt. Does that have to be a prize that you give away? You know what I'm
it's
trying
not
to
been
say
put up
here.
for anything yet, Mike. So for expressed certain considerations, and perhaps Bridget admitting that those are llama ears, I could send it to you.
Bridget, take one for the team.
You know, in Matt's world, it's
What were your
whatever
little-
it is in Matt's world.
Okay.
The rest of us.
I don't know. I let you come on the show, Matt. I don't know what else you want from me. No, I'm kidding. Matt does a lot.
But actually, that is a really good graphic novel in and of its own right, with a pretty intense story and pretty good art.
Okay.
So I would actually like to see it made into a movie, but like I said, they already borrowed heavily for not the plot, but the idea, some of the concepts.
Yeah, I gotta say, if you haven't seen The Wretched, you should watch it. It's really good. So, all right, what else have we got? Anything else that have you watched anything horror lately, Matt? While I look something up
We
here.
are actually we're watching Ripper Street, which, if you don't know about it, it stars Bronn from Game of Thrones and Mr. Darcy from the Keira Knightley Pride and Prejudice as detectives working in Whitechapel just after the Ripper's crimes have faded away. And it's a very good period piece. It's pretty intense and it's pretty grim at times. So it's not like it's not straight up horror, but and it's not supernatural, but there are like some terrible things that happen and mysteries that keep you guessing. So I'm really enjoying that at the moment.
So it's not a rom-com.
Um,
I watched Reminiscence with Hugh Jackman on HBO Max last night, and I wish I could get that time back because it was absolutely terrible. I mean, it wasn't Llamageddon terrible, but pretty close. So it tries to be this kind of futuristic noir, and complete with voiceovers, which a lot of people hate voiceovers in movies. I actually like them if they're done right. But yeah, this is just avoid this movie at all costs, please. And then I really want to see a movie called The Night House, a horror movie called The Night House. And I'm waiting. I'm like, in fact, I messaged you guys the other day. I'm like, 3 more days to The Night House is till I can watch The Night House. Then it gets there and it hits the 20th and only available in theaters. I think, okay, well, there is kind of a pandemic and its second wave, but it sort of pissed me off. I want to watch it, but I'm not going to go to a theater.
So for movies, actually, eZine Movie Night is going to be presenting an actual sort of Lovecraft story-based movie next weekend. What the hell is it called? It's about kids at Miskatonic University. Do you remember the name of it? It was shown at the HPL Film Festival online a year ago.
No, I don't. But I did mention
That
I created.
intersection?
Yeah. It's
Oh, right.
Intersect. The
Intersect.
movie Intersect. So we will be watching a straight up Lovecraftian kind of story with weird monsters coming up next Saturday.
Well, again, for those who missed it earlier in the show, I mentioned that we have a new web page on the site. Just click on events at the top, one of the links at the top. And I won't go through it again, but last but not least was movie night with Matthew Carpenter as our host. So all kidding aside, Matt, I appreciate all you do, and I appreciate you hosting that because it's a really fun thing for the people who attend. So
We have a good time. It's only a handful, like 10, say 8 to 10 at the most.
yeah, I mean, but it's kind of cool to be able to watch, with.
Oh, we have someone from the UK. We got someone from Canada.
Yeah.
We have someone from Japan. So it is international.
Yeah, and you guys text chat each other while you're watching the movie.
You,
And
Kim Smeltzer, you're a smart ass, Kim Smeltzer. I'll just tell you that.
well, she's watching live right now, so I'll watch for the comeback.
She just said yes, thanks, Matt.
I just speak the truth.
All right, I just bitched about the Night House. Now I'm going to bitch about Antlers. Anybody know anything about Antlers?
Well,
The movie, not Antlers in general.
Oh, okay.
It keeps getting what the. This is another movie I really want to see. It looks great, and it's like they're holding out until the entire world is COVID free before they show it. So, no news. All right, I'll stop bitching.
I want to
For
see
now.
it too.
Yeah,
When it comes out, it's coming on to movie night as soon as we can.
yeah. I tried to watch War of the Worlds.
The Pierce Brosnan one.
No, the one with Gabriel Byrne.
That's the one I meant. Sorry, Gabriel Byrne.
Yeah.
I watched
I
the
watched-
first episode and I enjoyed it.
I did enjoy the first episode, but then the second one sort of dragged, and it was just I don't know if I'm gonna keep watching it or not. It's definitely an interesting take. So and opinions are subjective. So try it out maybe. It's on Epics. Oh, speaking of old time radio, we again are having another one Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Lovecraft eZine YouTube page, whatever. So there. Now you have that information.
Did you see what DeBronzo wrote? He said
Did he-
Antlers is a more appropriate name.
That's true.
That's very clever, Mike. Good.
Has everybody given up on Titans season 3? Yeah.
I saw that episode 4 just dropped a few days ago. I haven't watched it yet. I'm trying to finish. I've canceled my BritBox subscription, so I've got to finish up what I'm watching there before it runs out.
Rick, I think you said you're giving up on Titans 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how you didn't give up after season 2, honestly.
Well, I pretty much did for a while, then I finished it, but Titans season 3 started off pretty strong.
Really?
I think that episode of Hank and Dove, where everybody does just the stupidest things ever.
That's where I stopped. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, forget it. I'm done.
As I said before, Dick Grayson was the worst leader of any superhero team.
Yeah,
In the
not
second
in the comics. In the comics, he's one of the best guys, one of the best superheroes on the planet, and by best I mean quality of character, leadership skills, all that stuff. So I hate these kind of clickbait headlines, and you
yet
see them a
go to
lot
them
these
every
days.
single time.
Huh?
And yet you
No,
go to
I
them.
actually don't, but this one I did. It's on Inverse, and it says you need to watch the most groundbreaking sci-fi thriller on Amazon Prime ASAP.
Okay, so a long time ago, I decided that I would not read anything that Inverse ever said again. So,
This is probably the first article I've read of theirs, though heard theirs in 6 months.
So hey, Pete, have you ever read the book Alligator by Shelley Katz?
a long time ago, yes, and I know it's getting a Centipede Press edition.
Yeah, it's getting a big time Centipede Press release.
Yeah,
And I'm just kind of wondering if it's worth the plunge.
I don't. It's been a long time since I've read that book.
Why don't you talk to your wife
Come on,
and
it's just
find
got to
out?
be about like Lake Placid on paper, right?
Yeah, maybe.
If we can get back to Inverse for one moment,
No, we can.
they're
Oh,
talking about Alien. I'm not going to read this whole article, but there was a couple of things that caught my eye. Even over 40 years later, there is still something surprising. It was actually a good article, despite that clickbait title. Even over 40 years later, there is still something surprising about Alien, now streaming on Amazon Prime. Here's why this sci-fi horror classic is still brilliant. I haven't seen Alien in several decades, by the way, so you might be surprised that in the trailer, you might have forgotten, you don't see hide nor tail. You don't see the alien at all. The appearance of the creature was the one spoiler director Ridley Scott did not want to reveal to the public. Scott and his collaborators went to great lengths to keep the beast a secret. Even people working on promoting the movie weren't told details about what the alien looked like or exactly how it reproduced, and screwed everybody over. 2 years after ghostwriting the novelization for Star Wars, author Alan Dean Foster, nice guy, was asked to write the novelization to Alien, but with a catch. He could not describe the xenomorph at all and wasn't told exactly what it did. Next time I'm on a panel with him, I got to ask him, how does that even work?
It must be very difficult.
Yeah, you would think so.
Have you ever read his novelization
Of what?
of
Alien?
Alien?
Yeah,
No, I
it's considered like one of the classic. I mean, it's a really I don't want to say it's better than the movie because the movie's the movie, but it's its own really great achievement. Honestly, it reads really well. It keeps a lot the suspense you get from watching the movie. He carries that right forward on the page.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised at all.
I mean, I think it's his second. So obviously, so he wrote the novelization for the original Star Wars film. That's his biggest. That's all the royalty drama with Disney.
Yeah.
Alien is his other. Like Alien has been in print, maybe not as continuously, but consistently since then, including like multiple Kindle releases and everything else. And so those were the two things that he was fighting with Disney about, because Fox was paying him pretty handsomely for the Alien novelization royalties. And there are a lot of Aliens fans that the novels are kind of their version of the franchise, if you will, kind of like a lot of Star Wars fans with the EU back in the 90s and 2000s.
Ben, were you here when we were talking about the audio drama version of Alien 3?
Maybe I can't remember. I'm an old man now, like you, Mike. I don't remember that far back.
Yeah. Well, it was written by William Gibson,
Yeah,
and it's pretty good. So,
it is,
as far
but-
as what I've listened to it so far. I mean,
so Alan Dean Foster wrote the novelization for the first 3 films. There was some sort of contract issue in regards to Alien Resurrection, and honestly, with the garbage script that Joss Whedon turned in,
who would want to write the novelization to that one?
Yeah, but again, those novels are considered like classics for a lot of people. I'd highly recommend anyone check them out, and they're easy to get a hold of, and there are audiobook versions and everything.
The reason the movie was such a revelation is because it made its world seem so real. While much has been said about the lived-in feeling of 1977 Star Wars production design, what Alien did was on a totally different level. The crew members of the Nostromo, am I saying that right?
Yep.
Nostromo.
are not space explorers or freedom fighters. They're just people hauling precious ore across space. These people are simply doing a job to get paid, and their ship and their equipment reflect that. There's nothing glamorous about the future world of Alien, which is part of why it pulls you in so well. The ship and the crew feel authentic. Skipping ahead. No, it's behind her somewhere, but they mentioned that you don't really even know who the main protagonist is until halfway through the movie.
Well, you had Tom Skerritt in there
Yeah,
as the
Dallas.
captain,
right,
as Dallas, and he at the time he's a big name,
right.
so you think that he's going to be the hero, but then they pull a Hitchcock and
Right.
they kill him off very early.
And it's important to remember that this is so the slasher genre had been created at this point, right? I think you had Halloween and a couple others, but it wasn't kind of like the set genre that we think of now for the last 40 years with The Final Girl and all that stuff. So the idea of having the movie is clearly a horror film, right? I think it's often described as like a haunted house in space, things like that. But when you first go into the film, you think of it, it's like, oh, this is a science fiction film. It's going to be action. You really are looking for Dallas to be the hero. And in the first half of the film, he's really played into that leadership role. And certainly for people that kind of come into the Alien series with Aliens, which very much was an action film, it probably is kind of jarring. But I think that's one of the brilliant things that they did with the film.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen Free Guy yet?
No.
Is that about the video game guy?
Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Well,
I
I
haven't
think
even
it's.
seen a trailer for it.
I haven't either. I think it's just in theaters. But I actually read an article about it with many spoilers. And all I will say is that 20th Century Studios is now owned by Disney. Do you get where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Okay. So it probably interests Rick and Pete, especially. Maybe Ben. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's really all I can say without giving it away. So, okay. Do we have anything else we want to talk about?
So, has anybody read this?
Oh yeah,
Twitter?
I got that.
What is
Squitter.
this? Squitter.
I thought it was okay. I didn't blow me
Yeah.
away.
I picked it up at, there was a 30-cent comic day, so I got like the first 4 or 5 issues. It was okay. It's Lovecraftian, but it's only tangentially.
all right.
You have a counterpoint?
Yeah, no. I thought it had zero to do with Lovecraft.
Yeah,
But the art was suggestive on the cover. They had implications, and I thought,
yeah,
okay, but okay, isn't this Ben Templesmith?
yes,
Okay, so Ben Templesmith did the most gorgeous graphic novel depiction of Dagon you could ever imagine in this intensely beautiful limited edition. So the guy's got some Lovecraftian chops,
right.
and his art is really quite striking. So it's worth looking at on that basis. But I just thought it was a fun graphic novel rather than anything Lovecraftian myself.
Okay, I'll agree with that.
Worth a look, but if you can read his version of Dagon, that's
Get
magnificent.
that. All
And
right.
so he also did the art on the original 30 Days of Night series as well. I don't know if that was his breakthrough kind of book, but that was with IDW back in the early to mid 2000s. So 30 Days of Night, it's about a town in Alaska that's like sort of a fictionalized version of the farthest northern town in Alaska that has 30 Days of Night, and a group of vampires show up to sort of feed on a town. It was made into a movie with Josh Hartnett. That's not completely terrible. It's probably the best I can say about it. But the original comic book series is really amazing. The art in particular is brilliant.
Matt, before we go, did you want to say something about high-end mythos
Yeah,
presses?
it's just something that's been on my mind. It's probably too big a topic, but I just had this sense, okay, like I was trying to keep up with reading everything that was mythos related, and starting about 2009, 2010, it became impossible, and this torrent opened up of 75 to 100 books a year. I mean, I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not counting graphic novels and comics and role playing.
Well, you're not talking about high-end that much.
No, I mean, but it was just like everything was just pouring out. And I've just got the sense that in the last couple of years, it's like the market got saturated, the high-end professional rate paying stuff, that kind of went away. And there are only a few companies I can think of. Like there are Kickstarters that come on for Lovecraftian stuff, and it's almost inevitably either a graphic novel, some kind of art sculpture, something, or something associated with role-playing games. It's not really so much for a dedicated hardcover volume like the Miskatonic University books that came out of Broken Eye Books came out of a Kickstarter, but that was 5 years ago. So now, and you know, we all know that it's like fantasy didn't begin and end with Tolkien, although he left a huge footprint. Science fiction didn't begin and end with Star Wars, although it like definitely altered the landscape. And Lovecraft didn't invent weird fiction. And there are lots of other different threads. And of course, anybody who's a really good author, like Neil Gaiman said this in the we've said this, he paraphrasing him from Fear of the Unknown, that Lovecraftian documentary. He said the mythos is something that an author will pick up, play with a little while, and then leave for the next person, is how he looked at it. He doesn't really write Lovecraftian stuff anymore, except a sentence here or there. And I think a lot of authors say, well, I've got my own things I want to say. I've played with Lovecraft. I'm going to do something else. Or there are other people who say, I'm going to reject this guy because he was so racist and anti-Semitic, and he didn't really write very well about women. I personally don't think he was misogynistic, but certainly gender was not something that he investigated. So there's a lot of things that modern authors don't want to be limited into this particular tiny little sandbox. But what I've noticed is that the high-end publication of Lovecraftian books has similarly died down. There are a lot of companies that I think have bit the dust. I view Arkham House as dead. I even saw, you may have seen this, I think it was in the August Derleth group. There's a guy, I don't know his name, I think he's somehow related to April Derleth. Maybe he's a nephew, maybe he's a son, maybe a great-grandson of August, was making intimations about selling August Derleth's whole library. You know, it's like he wanted to like value the whole library and maybe put it up for sale. So Arkham House ain't coming back. It's just, unless there's some real sea change. Chaosium is, through their latest gyration of, I don't know what they're doing. Fedogan and Bremer, they've not put out a book in some 5 years, right? It's been
something like that. And when they do, it's a great book, hardcover, built to last.
There's been not anything even on the horizon. And I don't know about the health status, financial status of the two men who are running the company. So Bloodletting Books is gone. So what it leaves you is the biggest one right now, I think, is PS Publishing. They are publishing a series of books. They keep publishing new Lovecraftian type books. They're just releasing a book of Dreamlands type stories. they moved on from Joshi's Blackwing series, and I think what's his name? I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Another guy took over and has been editing anthologies for them that they're releasing in these nice hardcover editions, like Beyond the Mountains of Madness. So they are still publishing some Lovecraftian books, although again, not as many as they did a couple of years ago.
All right.
I think, yeah.
I just sold a story to them for their new Lovecraftian anthology.
Okay, do you know, is it going to be the Dagon collection?
No, it's called Mystery, Murder, Madness, and Mythos.
All right, so they're still working in the higher, and you know, Centipede Press has a book coming out, perhaps this year, perhaps next, which is Kingdom of the Children, or Children of the Kingdom.
By T.D. Klein.
Yeah, T.D. Klein. They're going to be publishing an edition of that.
Yeah.
And
Wait, whoa. That's one of my favorite
Yeah.
novellas.
It's probably just going to be a small, well-illustrated, annotated book signed by everybody.
PS Publishing is doing this?
Yeah. No, sorry, Centipede Press.
Centipede Press.
Oh my God, I hope I can afford this.
So what were the other companies I was thinking of that are still producing high? So Perea Press.
You were thinking of,
Perea
I'm looking
Press
at your
does
email,
poetry.
Dark Regions Press. You wanted to say something about that.
Well, Dark Regions is like, they drive me insane because they're so unreliable in terms of their publication dates. They still owe me from orders from 4 or 5 years ago, like Pirates of the Old World. You know, when's that coming out? So, but they are still like new projects. They got a new Caitlin Kiernan project going on. And then the two other ones I'm thinking of, one was Perea Press, but that's mostly poetry. And actually, it's mostly soft covers. And then was it Pagana Press? Is the handmade, hand-sewn, beautiful artwork, but they're not producing books of new fiction. It's just like a Lovecraftian story here, something by Clark Ashton Smith there. So it's just, I just get the feeling that the overall level of interest, specifically in HPL, has dwindled to at least some degree.
So Matt, watch Jackanapes Press.
Jackanapes.
So
why they publishing you, buddy?
Yes, they are.
Oh, cool.
They're also going to come out with a really cool book I'm just reading now. I can't talk about, but yes, it's a really good collection of traditional weird tales, adventure in the vein of say Silver John.
Yeah, because mostly what I've read with them is poetry and also reprints, I think, of Pugmire.
Right. So Dan Sauer, who runs Jackanapes Press, is a book designer by trade. He does a lot of work for Hippocampus.
Oh.
And he does art and design for a lot of presses. And he also just likes to do they're not quite vanity projects. They're small press projects. And he's done the Opperman poetry books. And yeah, so he's putting out some really great stuff on the side. And yeah, so watch them.
I was doing some Googling while you guys were talking, and on one message board, someone said that Children of the Kingdom, with published by Centipede, is going to be out in February 2021. Obviously, the pandemic has delayed a lot of things. I don't see it on their site.
It was just in their newsletter.
Right.
Okay. Matt, when you get a chance, I don't think I'm on that. Will you forward that newsletter to me?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'll subscribe to it because.
All right. And then, what was it? What else? What just came out this week? Tales of Lovecraftian Horror.
Was that even available in print?
It is available in print now.
Wait, who wrote it and who published it? What are you
Hold
talking
on.
about?
Let me bring it up.
All right.
I gotta find it.
Look, I'm not one to go for high-end books. I mean, if I was rich, I would. I mean, I have this, one of my favorite books, The Night Country, very high-end, and that's because Stewart, the author, was nice enough to send it to me, and it's the only reason why I have it. So I don't do this often, but my man, if Children of the Kingdom is my favorite T.E.D. Klein story. What's the other one in there? Black Man with the Horn. I really like that one too.
Yeah, that's my favorite of his.
Yeah,
But he also
those
has
two
the
are
events. He has the events at the Poroth farm, which he
and
later
Deity.
expanded into the ceremonies.
Yeah, all four stories in Dark Gods are, and they're all novellas, are very good, very very good. Yeah, those two are just my personal favorites.
All right. So Lovecraftian Horrors was published by the editors Hydra M. Star. It's from Infernal Inc. Books.
Go on.
Is this an
And
anthology or is this a?
it is an anthology.
But it's not a high end one, right?
It's not a high end. In fact, I probably submitted to this 3 years ago with a release date in 2019, and it's now 2021. So
Matt, it's worth mentioning, as someone said on Scott said on the live chat, that Hippocampus Press is always putting out good stuff. It's not, they're not $100 books, but they're nice quality books typically, even the paperbacks.
Hippocampus Press is great. They actually are a major source of Lovecraftian and Weird Tales related serious scholarship.
Yeah, go anybody
they are
listening,
also-
go to
they-
Hippocampus Press, Google it, go to their website, and look
They-
at their catalog for sure.
They release all kinds of Lovecraftian letters that are annotated. And also, if you like that kind of thing, there aren't many places you can get a really good poetry journal. And they've got they publish poetry, and it's not just old authors. They'll also publish modern authors too.
And they just released what was the yellow King and Yellow one? I had James on the show.
Under Two Suns.
Under Twin Suns, yes. Thank you, Rick. Alternate Histories of the Yellow Sign, if I remember right. The book's over on my shelf over there, so I can't grab it.
right.
Yeah, pick that one up. And if only for the fact that Joe Pulver has a previously unpublished novella in it. But yeah, you're right. They do put out some great stuff. So
I'm trying to find the author.
so Derek Hussey, you owe us all a quarter. Well, while you do that, anybody else we want to mention? Matt, Bridget, Rick, Ben? I can definitely tell you that I'm not going to be throwing stones at anyone who's any small press that's slowed down in the last couple of years, because I certainly have. I've got 2 books that I've been working on for seems like forever, and I just appreciate that the authors are being patient with me. Of course, one of them, the author knows that the artist is very busy and he really wants the artist, and the artist really wants to do the book. So no big deal there.
All right. So the author list on
been a crazy 2 years.
it has been. It has.
I mean, it really has. And when you got other things going on too, I don't know. That's all I can say is that I'm not going to throw stones at anybody who's slowed down, but I think it's passing. So, Pete, what were we going to say?
All right. So the author list on Lovecraftian Horror include Robert Luthold, Janine Ashbliss, Esme Teepee, Clint Collins, Jap Boakstein, Jay Ari, Rick Powell, Martine Black, Richard Beaucamp, I hope I'm saying that right, Roger Leatherwood, Ron Murray, Raji Singh, Christine Morgan, who, she's
good.
She's good. And Pete Rollick, some guy, so.
I don't know who that is, but
I don't know who that is.
whatever. We got to give air to everybody. So.
Right.
I said this before.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I've been looking forward to reading this book for like 2 years. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mike, could we maybe do an episode in the near future on kind of like the, I don't know, just sort of the meta state of kind of like cosmic horror publishing, like what you were talking about with the difficulty of the last couple of years?
Of course we can. When we're done, if you'll shoot me an email about it, Ben, then that'll make sure that I don't forget.
Because I think there's also something to be said, and Rick and Matt would be would have a lot more to say on this than I would, for example, but sort of like this type of fiction goes through cycles, right? Where it becomes really popular, people get bored of it, or pandemics happen and it dies down, and then it picks back up later on. And I don't know, I'll send you an email because listening to you guys kind of talk about the difficulty of finding these high-end press books, which I've never been. I'm basically ebook only, and so to me, I'm on the other side of it, where like I complain when these high-end press come out with these beautiful, gorgeous collections of fiction that I can't get electronically.
See, the thing is, and I'll use this as an example again, the Night Country. Okay. So you can't afford, let's say you can't afford the Night Country, or you don't want to spend that much money on a book. And it's worth every penny, but you don't have to. You can get the regular hardback that's, you get a used copy for $5 or something on Amazon or so if you want. So there's a choice there, to your point, Ben. When there's no choice, where it's like you can only read this story in Centipede Press and that's it. I'm 100% with you there. So
yeah, and to be clear, like the vast majority of these publishers don't do that, right? They
don't.
But there have been a couple where I was like really frustrated or annoyed because it's like, oh, this story by this author I really like. Oh, I can't get it. And then like, am I supposed to like message the author and ask for like a PDF of his short story? Like that's not going to work out. So,
like they did Centipede did a Jeffrey Thomas collection, didn't they? Like a year or two back. But if you couldn't afford it, or you didn't want to spend that kind of money, and by the way, he deserves it.
Sure, of course.
Jeff does. But all of those stories are all available in various collections and magazines and so forth. You can read them all.
Yeah, so. and I don't even mind if a publisher's using like an exclusive for maybe a few months or a year to kind of get people to buy a physical copy so they can get
right.
I understand, as publishers, you guys got to make money. I totally get it. It's just more of a concern.
It's hard to.
Yeah. It's just more of like when there's a story that's exclusive and there's just no other way to get it. It can be frustrating in that sense. So I see both sides of it, but I also understand like it's really nice to have like a beautiful copy. I think of Barnes and Noble comes out with those leather bound classic, and I say classic, but they come out with all sorts of stuff, right? With like leather bound copies of the Star Wars trilogy. Yeah, there you go. I've got one that's a complete Sherlock Holmes. It's all 60 stories in one binding. It's beautiful. It's amazing. And it cost me like $20.
I've got a couple of Centipede Press books by Willem Pugmire that, again, I did not buy. One of them he gave to me. One of them someone else gave to me out of kindness, about a year or so after Willem died. But, the one that Willem gave to me, he's got a note in there and it's signed to me and everything. That's worth more than gold to me.
Of course.
I'm almost afraid to pick it up.
And I think of with especially these days, you have a lot of like, if something costs any amount of money, then suddenly you're accused of gatekeeping and being elitist and classist and all this nonsense these days.
Yeah.
Which mostly it's rich white people making these comments, by the way. But it's, you know, I can understand as publishers, you know, if all of a sudden maybe people are spending less money on expensive hardbacks, you're trying to find other ways to make money. And with Amazon's, it's not called Create Space anymore. I don't know what the self-publishing stuff is probably
ADP.
decimated. Yeah, it's probably decimated every single one of these publishers. And mostly to our detriment because, oh, it's great. I can buy all these books for $2. And unfortunately I have to waste you know, $150, you know, on bad books to find the good ones I actually want to read. So there's
well,
that
but
downside.
yeah, see, that's the thing. That's where, not to toot all of our own horn, to pat us all in the back, because it's not just me. That's where like a podcast like this comes in handy, where we say, hey, this was good, read this one, as opposed to, you know, the guy's friend has five-star reviews on Amazon, so it looks like it's good and it really isn't. You know, you have people that you, I mean, hopefully trust, saying this is a good book, you should read it. You know, like Chasing the Boogeyman. I mean, that's an easy one. It's Rich Chismar, but you get what I mean. Under Twin Suns, that sort of thing. You know, if it wasn't for the flip side of that, Ben, is if it wasn't for Amazon, I couldn't do what I do as a small press.
Oh, no.
Because I do Kindle, and then, you know, I do print on demand, which used to be a really, you know, dirty phrase, but it's far more accepted these days. I think the key is that you have a quality product, both in terms of great writing and stories and in great presentation.
Sure.
You know,
and to be clear, like I've spent a lot of money on ebooks. That is my
me too.
bread and butter. I archive every ebook I purchase, and I do purchase them all. And my archive ebooks is over 10 gigabytes now, right?
Matt?
And but that's because, you know, that's you know, having a format where I can have a little e-reader that'll the battery lasts for a month and a half. And
well, I'm
for
not a
what
zero
it's
sum
worth.
guy. I think that print books and expensive print books have their place, and Kindle has its place too. I'll get to you in 1 second, Matt. I apologize. Speaking of Matt, he bought me one time the Kindle copy of The Weird by the Vandermeers, and I actually am glad he brought me that instead of the print, because it's searchable. So that's one plus there, you know. So I'm sorry, Matt, what were you going to say?
Well, just for what it's worth, it used to be that PS Publishing never ever put out an ebook,
Right,
and
but
they're
they do
doing it a
now.
lot more now.
Yeah.
were they the ones that came out with the Glacky? It's
Yeah, Children of Glacky.
yeah, I remember that being one of the ones I was really upset about. I think I talked about it on the podcast.
There's a couple of Ramsey Campbell books that I'd like to read that, you know,
Yeah,
I'm like,
I think
do I want to abuse a friendship and email them and say, Ramsey, come on, man?
because to be clear, I've done that to Pete Rawlick more than once. But that's the thing is, yeah. So Ramsey Campbell, it was like his first return to using Glacky in a story, and like I think it was a novella.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and I remember being so frustrated because it was like I couldn't. It was only published, I think, in the UK. It was really expensive to get a hold of, and I wasn't. It was just like, no, I'm not gonna. As much as I want to read this story, I guess I can't. So yeah, that I'm glad they've changed their tune. Then that's great to hear. But it's also sad for Matt if he wants to have like this really beautiful library to sit in front of.
It's hey.
His wife wants him to get rid of the beautiful
Oh my
library.
God! When those James Branch Cabell books came in,
Well, I wasn't sure if you were joking that you were in trouble or if you were really in trouble.
oh, it's like I've overdone it, and I'm sorry, Isabel.
So can we be sure that Matt's wife hasn't been reaching out to these publishers?
We can't be
And-
sure of anything at this point.
Okay, I just throwing that out there. I mean, it sounds likely to me, honestly.
So what you're
All
saying
right.
is Isabel is paying publishers not to publish books?
Yes.
Cheaper.
Did you marry her for her money? Is that what's going
No, I
on?
keep
Matt?
wanting to hear about the Toner Millions, but she's close-lipped.
All right, I want to wrap up, but Kevin Wilson says let's not forget Undertow Publications.
Oh yes.
Anybody want to say anything about Undertow?
Um,
No, because I can't remember. I know that.
It's been a while since I've seen anything from them, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm blanking on what they put out.
I like Undertow book, but because they were publishing the best fiction of the year, best weird fiction of the year. And
Oh,
they
that's
published
Mike. That's Mike.
Yeah, it's like, so they've got nice anthologies of weird fiction, but not specifically Lovecraftiana.
No. I'm glad that, who was it? Kevin Wilson? Yeah, I'm glad, Kevin, that you brought up Undertow. I don't know why I'm blanking on Mike's last name. I've had him on the show several times. But if you go to undertowpublications.com, yeah, it is weird fiction. And I love weird fiction. And cosmic horror and Lovecraft, to me, are a branch off of the weird fiction tree. You know, there are some damn good books on that Undertow has put out.
The best weird fiction of the year is, if you want to jump into non-Lovecraftian weird fiction, it's a great way to do it.
Yeah. Michael Kelly, that's right. Michael Kelly is the one who is the publisher there. So yeah, Undertow. So anyway, all right, what's coming up?
There's
Yes.
also Wild Side books.
Oh yeah, Wild Side.
There's some excellent mega packs. You can get a lot of major E. Hoffman Price fiction that ties into the collaboration with Lovecraft.
If you'll send me a reminder email, Ben, I'll get that scheduled with the right people, some of whom are in this video room. And just to remind everyone, I'm going to do another regular podcast. This is for everyone. Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern with Richard Chismar, and we're going to talk about Chasing the Boogeyman, which is now out in print, Kindle, and on Audible. So we will try to avoid spoilers, but if you want to read it before then, or at least dive into it, you certainly can. Small time horror type book, so it's right up my alley. So that's Tuesday at 3 p.m. If you just Google Lovecraft eZine YouTube channel, you'll see it right at the top. I mean, if you do that in the next couple of days, if you do it 3 months from now, it's somewhere in the Lovecraft eZine podcast playlist. So you should be able to find it easily as well. And then Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, Old Time Radio. And this is Mystery Theater. Come for the story. Stay for the 1974 news broadcasts. It's great. So I love it. Talking about Nixon and all that. Nothing ever changes. So anything else we need to talk about before we go? Thanks for being here, guys. Really good to see you, Ben. I mean, it's good to see all of you, but we haven't seen Ben in a while. So
I should be a lot more regular now. I don't have to commute. I have like a chair to sit in. It's benefits all around.
Chairs are good. That's good. Pete, thank you for making the ultimate sacrifice and watching Llamageddon for us.
Prize.
So, yeah, prize. Talk about the prize.
Western Noir. Email to ezineprizes@gmail.com and put Western in the subject heading. It is really cool.
And don't forget, I have a patron. Keep me going. I appreciate all of you who do. So anyway, we will see you guys, anyone, on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks for watching and listening. Have a good night.